I don't think a governor or anybody else, not a lieutenant governor, not a speaker, can force the legislature to do anything. I think we can make a good argument, and last session of the legislature, I think we missed a great opportunity to protect one of the most important privileges that we have in this country, and that's the right to vote. And making sure that there's not fraud, making sure that someone's not manipulating that process makes all the sense in the world to me, to be able to have someone show up at their voting place with a photograph ID. Here's who I am. Here's my picture. Here's my card, and I am who I say I am. That's pretty simple. And I think whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent, the vast majority of the people of the state of Texas, they respect that and they want that. So you had a small group of activist legislators, mostly Democrat, if not all Democrat, who said, you know, we don't want that because it's going to suppress voting. Nonsense. And this next session of the legislature, one thing they do understand, and that is the governor has the ability to keep them in town until they address some issues. So I guess I might as well put them on notice today. We're going to do voter ID in 2011. We can either do it early or we can do it late. Their call.
Well, my approach to voter fraud is pretty simple. We ought to have a special team with all the equipment and investigative resources and special hotlines, and we ought to treat voting fraud as a serious crime. We ought to treat it as a crime for which prosecutors ought to go after. If there's not enough prosecutors, then we ought to hire more prosecutors. And I would want people, we ought to maybe using an online vehicle, have people provide links or evidence or some testimony about where they've observed voting fraud to have occurred. And when it does occur, we ought to arrest those responsible for it. We ought to investigate it, and we ought to indict them, we ought to convict them, and put them in jail, and then advertise that. If you do that, then I can tell you that if there are instances of voting fraud of any sort, they will go down. I personally, have heard various claims from the left and the right that the machines are rigged because this is a Republican county clerk. I've heard people say that from the right that there's people voting that shouldn't be voting, such as ex-felons and the like. And I've always asked people to bring me any evidence you have that this occurred, and I will walk hand in hand and turn them over to the police and the DA to get people indicted. And from the fact that few people are willing to come forward and provide me with that evidence, I think that our election system right now works pretty well. What doesn't work is this. Too many Americans sit on the sidelines. There are people fighting right now over in Iraq and Afghanistan, non-citizens, a significant number, thousands, who are in the military, fighting as a way to earn their citizenship to this country. And you know what the biggest difference between a citizen and a legal non-citizen is? The right to cast your vote. So I urge people, help get people who are citizens out there to vote, educate them on the issues, and we will have a more robust democracy.